Hello, my name's Tori Ann Perky, and from my homeschool to your homeschool, today I want to talk about what do you do if you don't want to homeschool anymore, but you know you have to keep going, or you know you should be homeschooling, but you really don't want to homeschool anymore. What do you do? Okay, so this happens to all of us. I've been homeschooling for over 15 years. I've got 4 kids. We started when they were really little. Now they're all teenagers and beyond. And there have been lots of times where I think, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to keep going. But I knew deep down in my heart that I was supposed to keep going. So, what do? And there were lots of reasons why I got there. Sometimes it was because my kids were driving me crazy. They didn't want to work, or they were fighting all the time, things like that. And that was really hard. Sometimes it was because I was in a bad place. I was really struggling. Over the course of our homeschool life, I've had lots of experiences where I personally was falling apart, and I'm trying to hold together this whole homeschool thing and my house thing while this part of me over here is not working. And that was really hard. Another reason that I found sometimes that I would be really struggling is I would have this dream, this picture in my head of what homeschool should look like. And our reality, it was not matching the dream. And that disconnect between the two would be so difficult that I just want to throw in the towel. So how did I do it? How did I keep going all of these years? Because 15 plus years is a long time. Well, let's talk about that. What do you do? I'm going to go through 6 different things, and I'm sure there's more, but I think all of these done, one or more of these, can help you kind of, get a little bit of the fire back, a little bit of the desire back, because if you're supposed to still be homeschooling, we want to make it so it's not quite as hard, as drudgery, as something you're dreading. Okay, so the first thing, I talk about this all the time, is you go back to the vision. You go back to why you started in the first place. And it's really important that you have this written down so you can go back and look at it just in these times. Because if you go back and you look at your vision, you'll remember why you did it in the first place. And I can't tell you how many times I referenced my vision for tailoring an education, my vision for helping my kids who had special needs, all of these different reasons. I think, okay, I can do this because it's that important to me. Now, if you don't have a vision, you need to write one. I have a free lesson that you can access immediately that will help you work through the steps to write your homeschool vision. I'll leave a link down below or up above, wherever you're watching this video, so you can go do that. That's the first thing I recommend. Go back to the vision. The second thing I recommend you do is assess what is not working. Are there underlying problems that need to be addressed? Is it a long-term thing? Is it a short-term thing? Have you just been through a major life change, a new baby, a move, something like that that's affecting how you feel about the homeschool, or just how you're feeling about life in general, and homeschool seems like the thing to quit? Is it a long-term issue that maybe needs to be addressed? Is it a discipline thing and you're having trouble parenting, which just is exacerbated when you're homeschooling? Is it because you have a child who is really struggling in areas that have nothing to do with academics? Maybe they have depression, maybe that they have reading or other learning issues, something that you recognize is kind of a long-term journey, and you need to give time to that. But because they're struggling in that way, or you're struggling, the overall homeschool is suffering. So is there something that needs to be addressed? And if so, how can you address it? Once you become really intentional about recognizing what the problem is, then you begin to say, okay, what is it I need to do to be able to fix or address or manage this issue? So that's the second thing I recommend you do. Assess what is it that's actually working and not working. The third thing I recommend you do is, review your schedule. Figure out, are you trying to do too much? Because when you have a really packed schedule, you feel overwhelmed, and you can start dreading anything related to homeschooling because everything feels too hard. And I've made another video that's all about the benefits of simplifying your homeschool schedule and some ways to go about doing that. I will leave a link down below this video so you can check that out if that is something that you need to maybe do, is just go through your schedule and figure out if there a way to simplify it. The next thing is asking yourself, is there a way to change things up? Sometimes the reason we are so dreading our homeschool and we want to quit is because we've done the same thing over and over and over, and we're just bored. And boredom is a killer. Like, it makes it so you don't want to do anything. So maybe it's time to change it up. Even if what you were doing is something you were super committed to and it was working, and it might just be time to put that aside for a while and just go on field trips for a little bit, or just watch documentaries for a while, or just snuggle and do, I don't know, an entire review of all the Disney canon. Whatever it is that would kind of just recharge you and your kids and kind of get you in a place where you think, yeah, we can go back and try some of those other things. Sometimes taking a break and changing it is really awesome. Another way you can consider changing it is maybe instead of just completely taking a break, you decide that instead of doing this kind of math, you're going to take a break and you're going to switch it up and you're going to play math games, or you are going to do math activities. And just the switch of this focus on how you're doing the subject can also make a huge, huge difference. The last thing I recommend is two more things. One, is take an actual break. And I kind of alluded to that just a minute ago. The reason we homeschool is because we can take breaks, adjust schedules, revise and change up things. So it may be that you need your fall break significantly, like end of November all the way through to the end of the year. It may be that you need your spring break in February, and you might then take a second spring break in April. You might need that. You might need to say, you know what? We're just going to not homeschool on Fridays for the near future. We're just going to have a day to play. Taking a real break where you have a mental downtime, you get to work on some of those other projects, can make a big difference, and then you can come back and be excited to start up again. Now, the final thing I recommend is take a look at your own self-care. Now, I know self-care is super popular, buzzy word. Everybody's talking about how you need to do self-care, and almost to the point where I personally am kind of annoyed about hearing about it. But I am going to bring it up because the reason it has become so trendy is because it's based in fact. If you aren't taking time for you, if you aren't making time for a little bit of recharge time, you will burn out. And burnout is a huge problem in the homeschool world because on top of all the normal mom and homeschool and home running things you have to do, you also have homeschool. And many of you are also working part-time, or you're juggling a new baby, or all of those. You have to carve out just a little bit of time for you. Now, what you do during that time, totally up to you. For some people, it's doing some kind of crafting. For some people, it's going to a store by yourself. For some people, it's sitting down and reading. For some people, it's just going into a quiet, dark closet and closing the door and just turning off your mind for a couple minutes while you listen to some quiet music. You get to decide what your special time is. But if you aren't making that special time, then ultimately your brain and your body will start to shut down. And that's one of the reasons you're feeling the way you do, is because you just are feeling like you just never get a break. So if you don't have time for that, if you legitimately look around and you say, I don't know how I would make time for that, then it is time to assess, what can I cut out? What can I simplify? What can I let go of? Change my expectations to just give myself a little bit of time for that self-care. All of these things, one or more of these things will help you get a little bit of the desire back, a little bit of the fire, so that you go from thinking, I do not want to homeschool, to, you know what? I like this. This is why I'm doing this. This is a good thing. I'm happy to be here. Let's go. I'm Tori Ann Perky, and I make these videos every week so that you can be a successful and confident homeschool mom.